Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel, Life's Abundant Journey. As an aspiring homesteader, I wanted to share with you guys the beginning stages. Sharing that it's okay that you can't just buy a plot of land and put up a barn and have lots of large garden beds. It's okay to start at the beginning. It's okay to have a small garden and learn along the way. There's many things you can do and things that I do in my life that will help me and educate me when I do have the capabilities of having that large homestead. But that's not where I'm at right now. I have a small garden and I love to learn. I like to do sourdough and ferment home-cooked meals. I have a worm composting bin, and that's just where I'm at right now. So I want to share with you guys these stages of life. There are many YouTubers out there with large homesteads or even just a large garden, and that's not where I'm at. And that's okay. So if you're in the same shoes as me and like to dream big, but are starting with the right now, I hope you come along with me. I want to share a little bit of my story to what brought me to where I am right now. I've been a NICU nurse for over 8 years, and I was a travel nurse for the last couple of years. In October of 2021, I received the worst phone call of my life. My mom had passed away in her garden. My mom loved flower gardening. It's what fed her soul. And when she passed away, I moved home. I'm now living in my childhood home. My parents had recently built their retirement home of their dreams on a lake in New Hampshire. I grew up in Massachusetts, and that's where I am now. The home that my mom was reluctant to sell because it holds so many memories. So that's where I find myself now, and that's where I'm starting my garden. When I moved home, I knew that I needed to do something that my heart ached for so long. And that has always been having animals, having a homestead, having a family. And I knew within the means of this property, animals were not a question. It's not my property, it's my parents'. So I couldn't just turn it into a homestead. A family wasn't really an option. I don't have anybody in my life right now to do that with. So I wanted to start with a garden. And so let me give you a little bit of a garden tour to share with you guys where I'm starting out. I started by buying this green stock that was recommended by many of the large gardeners out there. So let me give you a little tour of my green stock. I've already harvested quite a bit from the top. It was all lettuces in musclin mixes, and so I recently ripped it out because they had all bolted and tasted bitter, and I'm waiting. Well, they are germinating now. I have them all labeled on the side with a number. I couldn't find my tongue depressors here, so I numbered them and I wrote the seeds down on a piece of paper. On the second tier, I have a little bit of lettuce left over that's like an arugula, and on the third tier as well. I have some red romaine here. Got some more lettuce that's still doing well over here. And then down here, this romaine doesn't look too hot. I'll probably have to rip that out and plant something else. The only thing that I was able to start from seed this year were peppers and tomatoes. The tomatoes didn't do so well, so I actually ended up buying them as plants from the store. But the sweet peppers are still growing, so these were what I started from starts. And I have some cilantro here. I got some oregano that's growing very slowly there, so I ended up getting a plant I'll show you in a bit. I think that's some arugula that I planted. I've learned that labeling your plants is very important because you think you're going to remember and you're not. I have some basil here that I started from seed that's doing quite well. And then on the tier below, okay, these must have been the pepper plants that I started from seed. They're starting to get some buds on them, which is exciting. And here I have, what is this? A candy cane pepper. But I have some big fruits on there too. Here's another pepper I started from seed. This is some lettuce mixes, and this was a strawberry start. I didn't realize that these starts weren't going to establish for several years. I got some asparagus and some strawberries. So I don't know that I kind of regret doing them in my green stock, to be honest, because I would rather just have like things that are going to produce very quickly in here. I have some strawberries here. I need to do some research about these yellow or these red leaves. I'm not sure if it needs some fertilizer. I don't see any bugs on there, so I'm not sure. It came with one fruit on it, but since I picked the one that it had when I got it, it hasn't produced any. And I'm new to figuring out what the pollinated flowers look like. So I don't know if these were not pollinated and they're dying or if these are going to turn into fruit. So that's what's cool about gardening, is that as you watch your plants, you learn so much. So we'll see what that turns into. This is some green onions that I have that I planted from the store, and they're doing wonderfully. So this is one of my asparagus that has sent out a shoot. This was the start here. But I know that I won't get produce or like harvest from this for several years, so I'm not sure about that. And then here, I got this plant from the store. I have a little cucumber on here. There's a lot of flowers on here, and I wasn't sure if this was going to last because at the beginning there was a lot of, I think there were aphids on it. Some of the leaves are quite sad. We got some yellow leaves over here. I'm not sure if I should pick them. Oh, there are still, I don't know if you can see that, but there's an aphid right there. So there are aphids. I did have a lot of Asian lady beetles that were eating the aphids, so I had been leaving them alone so that they would have something to eat. The main stalk here is very dry, but it's been like that from the beginning, and so I thought it was gonna die, but it's clearly producing lots of green leaves and flowers and even fruit. So I'm not sure, but I'm gonna let it be. Here's another asparagus start or a strawberry start. Again, learning from my lesson, I should have labeled. And then we're back to our broccoli. Now let's move on to one of my favorite parts of the garden. The tomato plants are doing so good. These are paste tomatoes over here. And again, this is my first time growing anything like this. I had to look up to see what all this was, which has only happened on the paste tomatoes. Oh, don't mind my fun rocks. When I put this fertilizer patch down, it had been blowing away when I first started. And now I think it would be fine, but the rocks are kind of fun. So yeah, these are just root buds, I guess. And it happened more on these sauce tomatoes. But it's a fine symptom, I guess. It's produced plenty of fruit with having those little bumps all over the stem. I got some big ones over here, even more over here, and lots of flowers. So I'm excited. I got some fruit up there as well. And I've been training them up so that they have one, I believe they each have one sucker that's growing. So I got basically 4 plants, even though I have 2, because I got 2 main stems on each of them. Over here we have Sweet 100 cherry tomatoes. Now I put these, I don't usually do chemicals, pesticides, things like that, but I was dealing with so many aphids and ants that I put out these taro traps. So they will kill the ants, but they shouldn't do any damage to the plant. Like the ants would bring them to their home. They wouldn't bring them into the plant, the chemicals from this. And I've never seen an ant near them, so I'm not sure that they really work outside the home, because I use these in my home all the time and they're great for getting rid of ants. There is lots and lots of green tomatoes on here, and I can hear a bee that's over here that's pollinating for me, which is so exciting. Thank you. Thank you for pollinating my tomatoes. And here's one. This is my learning opportunity, that I can see the end of the dried up flower on the butt of that tomato, and some pollen. All right, my third one is Big Better Boy. I thought they were called Big Boys. I kind of like Big Boys better, but they're Better Boy slicer tomatoes. And so, oh no, what's that? I think that's from a messed up flower, if I remember right. I think that's just from a flower being like 2 in 1. I think that's a fine, like just a harmless, like an imperfection. So I'm gonna leave that. I don't think it's a bug. But we got lots of green tomatoes on here. They're growing up strong. This is what I use to secure them to the poles. Now let's talk about these planters. They are from a company called Growbox, and they are the simplest way to grow tomatoes as far as I'm concerned. Aside from the bug issue, these provide so much water, consistent watering. You don't have to worry about if you're watering too much or not enough, because tomatoes do like a lot of water. The company sells these grow patches, or they're called nutrient patches, which produce some fertilizer for the top that must be slow releasing, because you never have to fertilize again, and it just slowly releases over the course of the season. You water from the bottom. I filled this up yesterday and it's already an inch down. So during the summer heat, it provides enough water for the tomatoes, and as you can see, it grows them just perfectly. So my experience so far is that they're a great investment. I bought the green trellises that are great tomato cages for them. They kind of stick in the side of the planter, and I'm not sure what's gonna happen when they outgrow them, because they're already at the top tier. So those are my grow boxes, and I think that I'll probably get a couple more next year, because I want to learn how to can and do all those things, and tomatoes just seem to be very easy, aside from the aphids. What are you eating there, Mr. Dragonfly? So over here I have 4 basil plants. This I had bought from a nursery as one plant, and it wasn't growing very well. Now, a lot of the leaves are yellowing. I think it just had some transplant shock, or it needed some more water, but I watered it pretty good yesterday. The soil is now nice and wet, so hopefully these will start to grow and bush up. We also have, I love this plant. I had never seen it before. It is a garlic chive. And so I've cut that up really easily. It's much easier to use than garlic, and if you chew on it, you need to brush your teeth, because you get garlic breath pretty bad. Over here I have some Greek oregano, which is having some brown leaves, which I don't think is right. I gave it a good water yesterday. I'll give it a good water this evening as well, because it's still pretty wet. But yeah, my oregano over there didn't grow so well, so I bought some from the store, and I'm fine with that. It's not the most economical way to garden. It's not sustainable. It's more expensive, but as somebody that's learning, if all my seeds die and all my germinated plants sprout and then the seedlings die, like, I'm not gonna learn much. You know, the process I'm learning in, but if I don't have plants to grow, then how am I gonna learn the next step of the process? So I'm okay with buying some plants from the store as I learn how to grow from seed and do things that way. I have a avocado tree over here. Now last winter when my mom died, I had all these indoor plants I was trying to learn how to tend to, because she loved indoor plants, although she struggled with them too. And Facebook got to me. Grow a hardy avocado tree in cold climate. Okay, so I bought it. It was an $80 plant from Florida, and it came and it looked great, and then it slowly didn't look so hot. There was a bunch of buds on the top that I wasn't sure if they were buds or if they were like dead, where dead leaves have been, but they actually were buds, and they all opened in the last couple of weeks. And this plant looks fabulous. All of this is new growth, all of it. And it's continuing to grow. So it's never going to produce avocados. I don't know what I was thinking. And even if I did live in a climate that it could, it also needs a male and a female plant. So, all right, let's go to my small in-ground garden, and I'll share with you how I utilized a small space for more than I thought I could grow in that space. Ooh, before we go there, you wanna see my worms? So during the dead of winter in New England, I went over to my aunt's house and told her about my desires for a homestead. And I left her house with a small bin of worms, which I have since grown to be quite large. There's a little worm right here. You want to see a little, I keep taking tangents. Here's a little sneak peek of my mom's oasis. It's seen better days, but yeah, we got a little fountain over there, but she has a beautiful garden. This area is much more wild than her taste in other parts of the yard. And then she has these yellow flowers, which I'm not sure exactly what they're called, that really need to be deadheaded along the whole perimeter and even out here. We got a large yard for me to tend to. And there's a huge hydrangea bush over there. Now on to our vegetable garden. Here is my vegetable garden. I have a small in-ground quote-unquote raised bed here made out of some old fence posts. This fence had blown over years ago, and so my dad had saved the wood when they had to replace it. I originally planted beets over here and spaced them either too far away or over thinned them. So the other day I planted some more beets between, because you can plant them like I guess every 4 inches and they're clearly not that close together. So that's what we got over here, red beets. I got a marigold over there to attract pollinators, and I think it deters some pests too, marigolds, I'm not sure. I got 3 Brussels sprout plants that are growing very slowly. If I get a Brussels sprout from them, I would be shocked because I know that they get huge, and so I was going to secure wooden posts to tie them up to when they get to that point. I planted a bunch of onions in here originally. There is 1 onion in here. There was a huge I picked up from the store a small zucchini plant, and it grew huge. It was, I don't know, 2 feet wide when I decided, well, that really should go with my 3 sisters because it's going to take up this entire garden bed, and I could plant some more things if I moved it. I moved it over there and I planted a bunch of radishes. I wanted to try the 3 sisters. Nowhere in my wildest dreams did I think I was going to be growing corn, but my cousin was telling me about the 3 sisters gardening method. So I planted 3, I think these 3 are pink corn. I have it labeled somewhere. And then these are sweet corn. These are going to have like popping corn, pink kernels, which are really cool. I thought they'd be cool dried, even if I don't want to pop them. But learning how to harvest them, dry them to pop would be a cool learning opportunity. Last week I planted peas, which I didn't see that one yesterday, so I might have overplanted. I don't understand how more than 6 peas could trellis up these corn. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I hadn't seen that. That is a corn. That is freaking awesome. I might have to do some more research as far as how the peas are supposed to trellis up the corn. I'm sorry, they're not peas, they're green beans. They're pole beans. Now this is where the garden started. I wanted a cow panel, and I'm very pleased with the cow panel. Now the fruit that is growing up the cow panel is winter squash. My favorite winter squash. It is called kabocha squash, and I harvested it from a kabocha squash. I'm not sure they're going to produce squash that are edible because of the cross-pollination issues with squash. I guess like poisonous squash, I don't know, but we'll see. There's no way to know until it produces fruit. There are many flowers and there start to be some fruit there, and it's finding up wonderfully. So I'm excited to see this whole trellis covered in squash. I have peppermint over here in a pot. I had planted it in the ground initially, and I guess it can totally take over, and it's like infestation that you can't get rid of in years to come. So I planted that as a deterrent, and it smells wonderful. And then I have some more marigolds over here. This is a cool variety. Thanks so much for watching my first video. I hope to see you again in the future videos I make on my aspiring journey towards homesteading.